of TNA wrestling. Oh my God. Very unfortunate news to tell you guys with regards to the TNA wrestling promotion. I thought this was like some of the most saddest and disturbing piece of news that I have come across since this weekend has begun. And, remember last year, guys, I was telling you how Impact Wrestling was coming through the Maryland area. In particular, they were going to be coming through the Bowie, Baltimore, Maryland area and all that. But then something had went down with the promotion at the last minute. Honestly, they did not sell enough tickets. Let's be for real. That's what really happened to them. And as a result of them not being able to sell enough tickets, they went on ahead and they canceled those Maryland events, saying that they were going to make it up to the fans, come back somewhere down the road or whatever. Well, TNA Wrestling had brought their house show through the Bowie, Maryland area yesterday, being Friday. And my God, it just looked so ridiculous. Let me put it to you this way. I love my good friends over at TNA Insider. I love them tremendously. But I'm very surprised that they did not pick up on this. Because it's like news is news, even if it makes a company look bad. TNA Insider, I love you guys tremendously. You guys have always been good to me over the past several months, couple of years now. Whenever I've had somebody TNA related on our show, you've been gracious enough to show little highlights, snippets of our interviews with them and everything for the readers to check out. And I appreciate that, but I gotta call it how I see it. News is news, even if it makes a company look bad. News is news. And TNA Insider, I'm really hoping that before this weekend is out, because what I'm getting ready to say right here, it will be posted on our YouTube channel. So I'm hoping that TNA Insider does the right thing here, because news is news, and they share this with the TNA fans. But it looks like this house show event that was done in the Bowie, Maryland area had drew some piss poor attendance. How poor was the attendance, or how piss poor was the attendance, folks? So bad that like anywhere between maybe less than 100 to possibly 300 people had showed up at this TNA event in Bowie, Maryland. Now, you can see the pictures of this event on our Facebook page right now at Infinity One Productions, okay? But you can either do that, and while you're there, give our page a like, say hello to us and everything, or you can just go about finding it your own unique way. But we try to make it easy for you to find on our Facebook page. You can find it off the break, and people on our Facebook page have just been commenting on these pictures left and right. Even our very own, the beautiful and lovely Tammy, had chimed in her thoughts on the pictures that I had shared from another person. And it actually turns out one of the people's photos that we had shared with our Facebook followers, they were like, oh yeah, I actually went to that event, and yeah, man, it was definitely like that. Very poor attendance. Now, check this out. Apparently, if not on the same night, earlier in the week of this week, Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore had did another event, and guess what? That event had almost drew about 2,000 people. Now compare that to the TNA house show in Maryland last night. Anywhere between possibly 100, I'm not going to say less than 100, I'm going to go ahead and give it to them. I'm going to say 100 to maybe 300 people. Honestly, the pictures that I'm looking at, you can literally count how many people are there in attendance. And I wish that whoever was taking these pictures, they would have shown a full 360 so that you can see everything that's going on, just exactly how many people are there, rather than just take a particular angle or whatever. But it looks very, very sad when you see this. Daniel on our Facebook page, yeah, I tweeted this picture to Impact Wrestling and Twitter. Some other comments that's coming in here. Let me see if I can pull them up real quick. I'm actually on our Facebook page right now because we had posted like about a series of pictures that we had saw from this event earlier today. I could have sworn I had saw some more comments here. Let me see if I can actually... There we go. Let me just blow this up right here. See, I hate when this happens. I saw the comments originally, and then There we go. Now we got the rest of the comments coming in. Our good old pal Joe Cantrell, he had this to say. This is absolutely sad. I've said this 100 times. They should have never brought Hogan to TNA Impact Wrestling. They didn't need him. They should have kept the six-sided ring. I don't feel sorry for the company. I feel sorry for the workers. We actually replied to Joe, basically agreeing with him and saying yes, for the talent that's there in TNA Wrestling. It is very unfortunate because when it's all said and done, all the money that TNA Wrestling has and their association with Panda Energy and all that, there's just no excuses for this piss poor turnout that came about at this house show event in Maryland. Okay, no excuses whatsoever. Joe would follow it up by saying what makes it sad is TNA Impact Wrestling has TV time. For a company to have TV and only draw little over 100 people, that's ridiculous. Even though I've always been a WWE kind of guy, I always rooted for TNA to compete with them. But now, I've lost all confidence. One last thing Joe had to say with regards to this. This is where TNA went wrong. First of all, getting rid of the six-sided ring made them like every other promotion, and having Hogan come in for the amount of money they paid him was one of the biggest mistakes they have. One of the biggest mistakes they did. They have great talent. They didn't need any other talent. So basically what they did was drop the ball so many different levels. What about Samoa Joe? What about AJ Styles? What about Christopher Daniels? All the guys that were loyal to the company, now that they can't afford to pay any more big names, they're going back to all the guys they turned their back on. This is going to sound harsh, but you know what? Fuck TNA and all the behind the scenes people that run it, because ultimately the guys that got screwed over are the ones that were loyal to the company, and I just can't stand for that. Some very strong words right there from our pal Joe. Tammy had this to say, direct quote, she kept it short and sweet, and I think this pretty much might embody what your average TNA to the hardcore TNA fan may be feeling with this sentiment right here that Tammy put out there. That is something. I mean, a picture says 1,000 words, but this is something. Now, we're actually looking at another set of pictures that we posted, or shared rather, on our Facebook page. And it shows pretty much a whole 360 perspective of what all had came about from this House Show Maryland event. Now, in one image, it kind of looks like the guys are setting up some blue tarp or whatever. It looks like they're unveiling the ring or whatever. Looks like there's a decent amount of people sitting, getting nice and situated. Another picture, we barely see people watching as, or being seated rather, as Gail Kim looks to be in the ring. Looks like she's taking on somebody who I can't really make out for certain. It looks like it might be Velvet Sky. And looks like as the event goes on into the evening, because I'm seeing it go from what looks like maybe early afternoon to, or mid-afternoon to evening, maybe late evening is how it's looking in these pictures I'm seeing at my end. And the attendance, it just doesn't look like, one thing I can definitely say for certain, it doesn't look like the attendance grows as the hours pass. So you see these images, you can't help but say to yourself, what the fuck is going on with the TNA wrestling promotion? And once again, I said it last weekend, I'll say it again, you just gotta feel for cats like Gail Kim. You gotta feel for people like Ken Anderson. You gotta feel for people like Bully Ray. Even though he's injured, the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle, he's still tied to this promotion. Bobby Lashley, you know, all these names that I'm mentioning, Derek Bateman, aka Ethan Carter III. You just got to look at all these people. Braun was over in the WWE. You got to look at all these people, and you just, I can't help but kind of feel sorry for these people, because these people, in some shape or form, in the last several years, had some type of an affiliation with WWE, so they know the difference as far as attendance figures and all that. They know. I mean, I can only imagine what they're saying to themselves when they go to an event like this in Bowie, Maryland, and they see that there's like less than 100 people that have showed up. They got to be saying to themselves, what in the hell is going on? Did Maryland know we were coming out here? What's going on? I mean, it's very piss poor. And, you know, it's stuff like this that really gets under my skin. It's stuff like this. It's this silly ass, what I call stupid bullshit like this that ruffles my feathers, and it gets me so upset because I want for the men and women in TNA wrestling to succeed, damn it. I want for them to do well. I want for them to be able to go out there and entertain and put on a damn good show for all the fans that have paid to come see them. I want for them to succeed. For me, it's not about them becoming a number 2 company. For me, it's not about them dethroning the WWE or being the top dog when it comes to all things wrestling. That's not what it's about. For me, it's just all about them going out there, hitting a home run night in, night out, winning those fans over, having great attendance. I want nothing but the best for them. Okay? And this is coming from somebody that's had the luxury of interviewing several people associated with the TNA wrestling promotion since we've been on the air. I mean, we chatted it up with Christopher Daniels. We chatted it up with Gunner. We chatted it up with Joey Ryan, Jay Bradley. All these guys at some point, we talked to them while they were still with the TNA promotion or fresh after they had walked ways with the TNA promotion or from the TNA promotion. You know, so I want nothing but for these guys to succeed. But I tell you, man, when I see this bullshit, it pisses me off, and it pisses me off to the core. There's just no excuse for this whatsoever. All the money in the world. There's no excuses for this. And I know what probably the hardcore TNA fan is probably going to say. They're probably going to be like, oh, well, you know what? The fans that did show up, they're the diehard TNA fans. They really care about the product. Maryland doesn't know that much about wrestling. And if you are going to jump out there and hit me with that BS line, let me tell you something. You don't know your wrestling that well. Remember, a long time ago when Vince McMahon Sr., before it was Worldwide Wrestling Federation, back when it was Capital Championship Wrestling or something like that, Vince McMahon Sr. was doing his thing out here in the DC, Maryland area, and he stayed having wrestling events in those respected territories, and he did exceptionally well. And you know what? It's a tradition that continues to this day with Vince Jr., because he comes out here every time he brings an event to DC, the Maryland area. The attendance, it does very well. Every single time ROH comes out here, they do something for Maryland. Not necessarily at their main arena where they keep filming ROH TV. They actually do other events in the Maryland area. They're able to draw great attendance numbers, even for their pay-per-view events. Okay? There are several indie promotions, Big Time Wrestling. What's the other one? Matt Hardy is currently a champion for one of them. I think it's Maryland Championship Wrestling. Every single time all these promotions do something in the Maryland area, they draw good attendance figures. Okay? And they don't have a damn TV deal. That's the funny part. They don't have a TV deal. They do not have access of buku's money to be able to just drop out there and say, hey, we need radio spots, we need newspaper spots, we need this, we need that. They don't have all that. They're just going out there pretty much doing their word of mouth. If they're able to score an interview on a podcast show or whatever, hey, that's great. But pretty much they're just going out there. It's pretty much word of mouth. They're doing their best that they can with social media. They don't have the same tools that a Spike TV / TNA Wrestling / Panda Energy has. And yet they're able to go out here and with the limited resources that they have, with the limited staff that they have, they're able to go out there and they're able to make their product smell like fucking roses. Very infuriating. This is like, you know what? I'm actually glad that I went on ahead and I said I'm not going to New York City for TNA wrestling, because as I told you guys on Thursday night's Impact Showdown, and in case you guys had missed it, I had did a new update of how TNA was doing as far as selling tickets for those 3 days that's going to be coming up on the 25th, 26th, and 27th of June. And they don't even have one of the events sold out yet. They barely don't even have at least half their seats filled up for that event. Not for any of those days. If you were to really press me to say, Lee, does at least one of those days look fairly decent? Like it's gonna be a decent crowd. Maybe the day 3 show. Maybe. But they haven't even sold half an arena for any of those 3-day events. And this is the same promotion that has been doing a piss poor job in promoting these events that's going to be coming up in the New York City area. They've been doing a piss poor job promoting it, as they've now moved on to August. So they've got their head screwed on backwards in the way that they're promoting. And I mean, it's stuff like this. It goes back to what I was saying a couple of weeks ago. I will give TNA Wrestling all the praise in the world when they do things right, and I have given them praise in the past. But when I see that they are not doing things right, and for me, I've always told you guys, the number one enemy that is against TNA right now is that when they have good consistency, they don't make it consistent enough. What's good one week, they cannot seem to string it together to have it continue to be consistently good on a weekly basis, to a monthly basis. They just don't have that. And this house show event is a prime example. I feel sorry for the fans that had came to this event, but I hope at the same time they were able to take some really great pictures and all that, and I hope they had a good time and everything, you know. At the same time, TNA Wrestling, if I was them, I would not be doing any more house shows like this. They need to seriously go back and they need to regroup and they need to figure out, okay, well, how can we definitely make a draw of at least 500 people every single time we do a house show? You know, go within your means. I mean, I heard from one person that's very familiar with this Maryland venue that TNA was at in Bowie, and they said that there was actually a baseball game that had came about there just a couple of days prior to TNA doing their thing there, and they had said that that was a hell of an event. That event had drew a great amount of a crowd. So to come back a couple of days later, and now it's TNA's turn, and they have this piss poor showing, really makes you wonder, man. Really makes you wonder. I didn't mean to get off on that TNA rant there. I don't want you guys going, oh man, Lee's turning against us as far as the TNA product goes. Dudes, I'm still going to be there supporting the TNA product every single week. But when I see that they're doing a piss poor job, I mean, let's be for real. This shit should not be happening in 2014. Let's be for real. All right? In closing, let's be for real. For a company that has been around for almost 12 years, this is the type of stuff that should be happening as a company is trying to find its identity, as a company is just taking off the ground, just like it's equivalent to a new restaurant, okay? You see that there is construction going on around the corner of your neighborhood. It looks like there is some type of a new bar that's going to be coming, a new food and bar establishment is coming. You're kind of like, hey, I definitely need to see what this place is gonna be like when it's finally complete. You know, hey, it's right around the corner from me. Maybe it's gonna be awesome. I need to see what's going on with that. And how does that new establishment go about getting people to come to their event? Well, they're probably going to start off a little bit slow. They're probably going to try to do a word of mouth type of deal. They're probably going to try to utilize social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, you name it. They're probably going to put up ads on Craigslist. They're probably going to try to see if they can maybe get an ad for themselves in their local newspaper. All word of mouth. They're probably going to try to see if they got enough money. They might try to see if maybe they can get a spot on television, like on one of those campus TV commercials, public broadcast television or whatever. Maybe they might try to get a spot on there. If they're lucky, they might be able to get a spot on radio, local radio station or whatever like that, you know. And that's pretty much how everything just eventually comes together boom, that business, it probably is going to take off to a very good, strong start, especially if they're able to reach out to all those respected platforms that I mentioned. And hey, everything just clicks. The staff, everything is just in unison. Everything works together. There are some serious components missing from TNA Wrestling, the promotion, when it comes to these house show attendance figures. There are some serious things that is going wrong, because the attendance, it just is like mind boggling. It is really mind boggling. And I don't see why in 2014 this continues to be a problem for the promotion. I just don't. But I'm really hoping that things change. And meanwhile, we have Jeff Jarrett talking about there's this big boom that's going to be happening with wrestling. He can feel it because with his Global Force Wrestling, he feels that there is another boom for wrestling waiting right around the corner. Well, I don't know about this boom, man, but I tell you what, I do know one thing. TNA Wrestling, they need to wake the hell up, and they need to start strategizing when it comes to these house show figures. We're talking about TNA Wrestling. Something else that I want to bring to you guys' attention real quickly here. It looks like TNA Wrestling, they did, and I just am continuing with the bad news for TNA Wrestling here. It looks like Thursday's June 5th episode had scored a 0.84 rating with, get this, a mere 993,000 viewers. This number is down from the previous week's 0.89 rating. Impact Wrestling went head-to-head with the first game of the NBA Finals, which happened to draw, get this, 14 million viewers. So I know that there's probably going to be some people out there that's probably going to go, well, to be fair, in all honesty, TNA Wrestling had some competition going on Thursday night, cause the NBA Finals was on and everything, and so that really don't count, Come on, cut them some slack. You might be able to kind of hit me up with that crap for this week, but let's be for real. The past several weeks now, Impact Wrestling has not been able to get like a 0.90. And I don't know how many weeks. And not to mention, and I can't wait to see how the quarter segments are going to be broken down, as that isn't out yet for that June 5th episode. But for last week's episode, it had marked the 14th consecutive week that segments involving Eric Young was pretty much at an all-time low. So that trend is continuing. I can't wait to see how this week's episode did. So we'll probably be able to follow up on that with you guys this Tuesday night on the RCWR show. But yeah, man, the hits just keep on coming.